Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Works studio. Find one thing to move your business forward today. With conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen, follow, and subscribe on social media. Dear Business Coach Podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. And don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today.
Falling towards the sky, the other way round. My life's been turned upside down. I'm thinking that I'm falling by way. I didn't know this, I was flying.
Thank you so much for joining me here today. Will you please introduce yourself?
I'm Stones Moyo. I'm a rapper and producer from Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. I write and produce my own songs. I also specialize in working on intros for podcasts and vloggers and that type of thing.
And now I can find your work on Spotify in a playlist where your music's featured, but I can also buy your music and actually use the music today. If I have a podcast, I can go buy your music, talk to you, and use it on my show. Is that right?
Yep, you can do that. If maybe you like the style, but you want something custom made, I can do that for you as well.
Now, how does that work? How do I ask you to start a custom track for me?
So how it works is you tell me what your podcast is about. When you tell me what your podcast is about, you also let me know what specific things you want me to mention on the song. And then I work on the instrumental and record it and then send it to you. If you have any revisions, you tell me what you like the revisions to be. And that's how pretty much it works.
Okay, awesome. Now, when I talk to you about my podcast, can I give you an idea of what kind of feeling or beats I like? How do I describe to you what feeling I'm looking for?
I guess the best way to do it would be if you have a reference track. Reference track is something you would want the track to sound like. Or maybe you heard a popular song and you want me to probably play in the same range musically and to stuff like that. So when I listen to the reference track, then I work off based on the reference track to provide you the song that you would like.
We're going to feature a couple of songs here in the episode. The first one that I had in my notes was Amen. And I've listened to that a couple of times. It's a beautiful song.
So I recently released a song in January this year, a couple of weeks ago. The funny thing is I've had the song for 3, if not 4 years. So it was stored up in my hard drive, and it's a song that just talks about my current situation and me still wanting to have the drive to keep on pushing and trusting in God in the process, to just be like, okay, let me just be real about what I'm feeling. Because there's no way in the world that you can heal if you don't reveal your scars. So part of the song briefly talks about that. I do talk about some of the issues I talked about in the song on other songs, but this one was sort of an introduction to the bigger issues that I want to talk about in the EPs that I have coming up.
Amen. Dropping voice after voice like a priest. Trust me, I ain't even trying to preach. God on my side, tell me what's out of my reach. Pardon me, I'm taller on my knees. I'm blessed, I don't even have to sneeze. Being fake is the reason why I don't heal. So aiming to the fact that I gotta keep it real. So I really can't hide from how I feel. I'm anxious about how I pay my next bill. No salary, all I got is hustle. Robbie they will think I'm weak if they see me struggle. Amen, amen, the devil is a liar. I'm going higher. When I count blessings, I can't stop counting. At times it's easy.
It's available on Apple Music. So, but right now I'm sort of working on a different angle, which is you can pay whatever you want for the music,
Mhm.
which is available on Bandcamp. If you want to use it on your podcast and everything, so whenever you buy a song, let's just say you buy a song and you want to have it on your podcast as background music or whatever. Silver Lining, I probably had the song for 6 months before I released it. I didn't I didn't have I didn't do my usual habit of covering songs for a long time as usual. This time it was really a short time and I decided, okay, let me just put it time. It's about time.
Falling towards the sky, the other way round. My life's been turned upside down. I'm thinking that I'm falling by way. I didn't know this, I was flying. It was so.
Yeah. So the story behind the song is I had the chorus in my head for a very long time. So when I got the beat, it was easy for me. I was like, I think this concept fits here. So on the hook, I talk about how in the midst of thinking that you're falling, sometimes you're not really falling, you're flying, but sometimes it's really hard to see. So that's the story behind it is instead of thinking that you're falling, think of it as you're flying.
A lot of people that I talk to who are in the podcasting world start podcasts because it is a way to produce work yourself and collaborate with other producers who are do-it-yourselfers who are learning how to produce material.
The one thing I will say is I'm here because of podcasts. Um, because the first ever job I did outside of just making my own music was to be hired by another podcaster for me to work on their intro. I've also been hired by other podcasters in terms of just being hired to probably record the audio or maybe edit, mix and master podcasts. So part of what I've done for podcasts has funded my own career in some sort of way. So it has been a beautiful avenue for me to be like, okay, podcasting is a beautiful space. It's especially for musicians because we don't now have to wait until we blow up to get some sort of traction or some sort of income. So it's sort of a beautiful marriage that works together, if that makes any sense.
It does. It does.
Mm.
Have you thought about talking about the music business in your own podcast?
Yeah, I've been thinking of starting resuming my own podcast because I was part of a podcast that I was doing a couple of years ago that was where we interviewed poets, I mean to say. So now I really want to talk, I want to have my own podcast where I talk about the music side of things, the struggles I say, especially being from a place where I'm from.
What is the music business like? What do I need to know about your day-to-day music business?
Okay, so I'll probably explain it from my own point of view, being where I'm at. Where I'm at, being my country, Zimbabwe, and my specific city being Bulawayo, it's difficult sometimes to sort of get traction from your own city sometimes. So most of the times, the people that tend to appreciate you are people who are not even in your range. I guess a whole lot of people had the perception that in order to make it, you first have to figure out what the market wants, but it really doesn't work like that. I guess you really have to make what you want to make and then find the market for it. So the business side of it is now trying to figure out which market can pay for your music, and the market that can pay for your music are people who relate with the music that you're talking about. For example, you found me.
I did.
So it's me branching out on other things that don't necessarily have to do with me making music. Trying to figure out, okay, what other lanes can I go? A whole lot of people are putting out content on YouTube right now, and a lot of people are looking for music they can use on their YouTubes. They're looking for stock music they can also use as background. They're looking for producers to edit, because at some certain degree, depending on how big your podcast becomes, you do need someone to do the editing in case you're busy with other things. So the big part of the music is realizing that a whole lot of people use music to sell products, whether it's podcasts, whether it's when you see ads on TV, there's music there. Movies as well. There's a whole lot of music used in movies. Podcasts do the same thing. I don't know if I mentioned that already. So there's a lot of other avenues that you can always pursue when you're doing music. It's more than just waiting for someone to buy your song. Rather service yourself as a musician. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, you make it sound easy because
It's not easy. It's not easy. That much I'll tell you, because I guess the biggest struggle is finding people who are buying into your vision. So if you present your vision and you have credible work, it becomes easy for me to come to you and tell you, okay, I would love to provide a service of making a custom song for your podcast. But it's difficult if I don't have songs on Spotify or YouTube or that people can find. Then I can prove that I can actually do the work. So you have to be able to prove yourself, if that makes any sense. I guess it's a matter of perception. I guess the most important thing before anything, even if it's not music related, make what you like. If you don't make what you like, it's going to be hard to sell because you don't like it yourself. So there are people who think like you, there are people who have the same experiences as you, and they really love to hear what you have to say. But if you're not sharing your authentic self before the quality of the production, before anything else, it becomes difficult to sell it. So for a lot of people, they think maybe I just got to this position. I had to start from a very bad place where, okay, maybe the production wasn't top notch. Maybe my rapping was probably off time in some places and stuff like that. But I had to grow from that. And that's how you get there. So I guess the best thing I can tell anyone who started is who's getting started is just get started and just do it, put it out and see how it does, and then learn from whatever you put out.
well, Stones, the song Amen, you said you had that for a few years before you released it in January. Was that a conscious choice? Did you say it's not ready yet?
I'll be lying if I say it was a conscious choice. It was more on having a whole lot of things happening. So I started working on it again because I felt like, okay, maybe this time release it, because what I used to do is I would announce a song and then maybe don't meet the deadline. So now I don't announce anything. I just when it's time to drop the song, I literally day before just tell people, hey, tomorrow the song is coming out and everything. So it wasn't much of a conscious decision. It was more based on circumstance. Because the other thing is, if you're an independent artist, if you're doing a whole lot of things for yourself, it does slow you down because you're having to do a whole lot of things by yourself, which is I have to write the song, produce the song, mix and master the song, do the cover for the song. After I do the cover, I have to release the song. After I release the song, I have to shoot the reels and stuff like that. And then it takes a whole lot of time. So sometimes when you're done with the second step, the third step becomes hard if you're doing it by yourself because you're exhausted. So I guess sometimes there's a delay in me releasing music because I'm still trying to build a team around my music so that I don't have to do everything by myself.
Earlier, you had said that something you want to talk about is being able to promote your music when it might be difficult from where you are physically, or where you are physically means that you don't have immediate connections.
Just for myself, I had to start thinking about it in a very different way. To be like, okay, how can I get people to support me? So now I just talk about something that I wanted to do for my music this year that I wanted to offer my fans. I was giving my fans an opportunity to buy a percentage of my streaming royalties. So what that means for them is if they buy a percentage of my royalties and I give them that percentage, it means that every time the song earns something, they get a piece of something in perpetuity. So it becomes very easy for someone to buy into the idea of, okay, if I have a share in a song, it means that if I invest, for example, maybe $300 in a percentage of a royalty, it means that person will be getting paid in perpetuity forever because every time the song makes something, they are getting paid. So that's a way to get people to invest in what you're trying to do. Because it means that when they invest in what you're trying to do or they have a support in whatever you do, it's easy for them to support it because they are also gaining something out of it.
You're
I don't know
creating a
if that
stakeholder.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to do this year. I realize that make the people who believe in your music stakeholders of let them have shares in your music so that when you grow, they also grow. They know that they're getting passive income in perpetuity. Whenever the song streams goes up, they're getting something. So if someone invests $300 and the song makes $30 in a week, imagine how much that would be in a year for them. So it's really trying to create stakeholders into the music that every time when they invest, they give me the opportunity to be like, okay, I have an opportunity to make the song better than what it is right now. So maybe I'll go and shoot content for the songs. Maybe I'll use some of the money to do maybe promotional work and stuff like that. So the money just doesn't go into my pocket. It goes back into the music. It goes back to making sure that whoever is invested is getting their investment in return and they're getting profit out of it.
That's a huge deal to be able to think in terms of reinvesting in the work, reinvesting in the product so the quality improves and improves. And that's really cool. And speaking of growing in that way, the other song that we talked about is called Leveling Up.
What really got me there, to answer your question, I think I can say it was difficult. I didn't get there overnight. Um, so there was a time where I'm forgetting what you call this thing. NFTs came into play. So when NFTs came into play, a lot of people were talking about selling part of their shares and everything. So that's when the idea sparked. But sort of NFT sort of disappeared. I don't know if they're still quite active. So I was watching one rapper by the name Larasaw. He was talking about splitting the shares and everything. So the idea that I already had been thinking about sort of made sense because he explained it in a way that made sense to me. I was like, this is definitely what I've been trying to do. Now I think I have a way to do it. I just hadn't thought about it that way. What so the thing that got me thinking about the worldwide marketing was, to answer the other question that you asked, is Fiverr. The one thing I realized is when I put my services up on Fiverr and I use some of the songs that were on my very first EP, my very first EP, I meant to say, those songs were the reason why I got hired to work on podcast intros, make custom songs such as birthday songs, a whole lot of things. So I realized that most of the people that hired me were people that were not within my region.
Okay.
It's people in overseas, United States, Canada, and everything. So over 300 projects that I've worked on Fiverr, none of them have been from people on my immediate local base. So I realized, okay, probably my market is not here. It's overseas and everything. So try to market yourself there because that's the only way that you probably make something out of it.
Well, you have a lot of range in your musical talent. Did you start mixing genres together at a young age?
That I will probably give credit to the music that my cousin and brother used to play a whole lot when I was growing up. So my music taste sort of developed because of the music I was exposed to. So they were playing all type of songs. So eventually, when I started creating my own songs, I would hear some of that in my own music. So I don't try to make one type of sound every time. I try to make sure that I'm not doing one thing because doing one thing could mean that you could sound boring very quickly. So I try to not have any limitations.
That I can see that you have music available for just about everything that I could think of. As you said, rapping, there's kind of a rock feel, there's pop, there's a lot of depth.
When I make songs, I'm not even thinking about, is this commercial or not? I'm not even thinking about that. The only thing I'm thinking about is, this is how I feel and this is what I would love to express. I do that. Whatever happens after I put out the music, it's not really up to me. It'll depend on whoever catches the song or whether they're gonna share it or do all the type of stuff. But all that, like I say, comes from, okay, make music from a very honest place. I heard a quote from a podcast, I guess. I don't remember which podcast I heard it from. And that person said, if you're not inspired, just work off honesty. And that's what I believe I do. I work off honesty. This is how I feel. Okay, I love this sound and this sound. I think if I mesh it together, something could come out that's beautiful. Because the one thing that I didn't want to do is to make music for other rappers. I There's this thing of trying to make sure you're not making music for other musicians, but you're actually making music for people who consume the music. For a lack of a better phrase, I would say most people make music to show off rather than to express what they really want to say. So I believe in expression. I don't believe in over rapping or over singing or making the instrumental so complex that it's just you showing up and not really expressing what you really want to express, because you think you have a mentality of wanting to be seen rather to be heard and express what you're trying to say.
So, this is called the Dear Business Coach podcast, and I'm going to ask you a question where you're the business coach. You said to make sure that you're making music for the music, for what you enjoy, not for what you think will be a commercial success.
Yes.
That is, I think that's important to say, because it almost feels backwards, right? Because if you were talking to someone, giving them inspiration about being successful, you would think that, well, logically speaking, we need to figure out what people want to buy. Anything that we make needs to be inherently important to us.
Yeah.
So, dear business coach, what do you really mean? How do I do that? The business world says that's not a great idea.
I guess maybe back in the day that would have worked, but let's look at the people that tried doing that and failed at it and look at why it didn't work. For example, let's say you want to start a bakery. Um, Actually, let me phrase it this way. You go out into the world and you're trying to figure out what makes money. You figure out, oh, what makes money is bread, scones, and all that type of thing, cakes and everything. So you decide that you're going to start a bakery. You start a bakery, you start making all the produce. But the problem with that is if you're not good at it, you're not going to last, because you're doing it for money, you're not really doing it for love. So when you're doing it for money, most of the time, you won't go on for a very long time because you're doing it for money. So if it doesn't make money within the first month, second month, it's easy to close down the bakery. But if, for instance, you're doing it for the love and baking is something like you really, really love, it becomes easy to keep on going. Sometimes a business doesn't see success for a couple of years and then eventually it does see success because you've been consistent. It's hard to be consistent with something you don't love that is just for money.
Your message with me today, letting yourself expand, level up, if you will, with your heart, with the original intention, with your original vision and mission. Can we level up and still keep and own that original passion and connection?
Yeah, I guess my other definition of leveling up is being real with yourself. If you're being real with yourself, then if you have it in your mind that I'm going to be real with myself as I level up, it's easy to keep on going with that being the protection of yourself. Because many of times you can say you're leveling up, but when you're not really doing what you want to do, you're just leveling up because society is telling you to level up. With level up, I'm saying I'm going to be a better version of myself. So to be a better version of myself, I have to do things that I care about. That's the definition of leveling up.
other opinion. I gotta know my worth. So I gotta level up to my greatness. Never mind if the hate in this. Warning, when I take my shot, I don't miss. I'm dopey for all the comments. Level up to walk.
That's good.
Yep. So I can say I want to level up because somebody else told me to level up. I have to level up because I want to improve myself. I want to do the things that I care about. That's how I'm leveling up. I'm leveling up by making sure I'm making music I like. I'm doing business I like. I'm not just taking whatever order from people for the sake of money. I'm also trying to protect my brand because I have run into instances of doing things for money and not being happy with the product and how it presents me. So Level Up was now trying to change that mentality to say, okay, I can't just sit around and just wait for these things to happen. I have to do things I care about. The things I care about are eventually going to care about me in return, if that makes any sense.
You can say that again, please.
Yeah. Things you care about would most definitely care about you in return if you do it properly. And doing it properly is doing things that you really love doing, things that you really do believe in. And as much as I'm in a position where I need money, I should make sure that it's not only about the money. It has to be about the art. It has to be about the thing that I love, because the thing that I love is what's going to make me wealthy. Just doing it for the money at some point becomes equivalent to selling your soul.
Have you thought about teaching?
I have for quite some time. I have a book out that I wrote that I was trying to show musicians on how they can make money online without necessarily selling out a show or whatever, or for them just selling what you call this music. So I talk about that stuff in the ebook that I released. I released it sometime last year, so I guess that's my form of sharing and teaching.
Where's the best place for me to purchase your music?
There's Bandcamp.
Mm-hmm.
Bandcamp would definitely be the best, and this is why, because whoever is buying is an option of choosing how much they want to pay. So the reason why I love the pay what you want concept is it gives people an opportunity to say, okay, I think the value of this music is this much, so I want to pay this much for the music. So I don't set the price. Whoever wants to pay for it sets the price. It makes whoever, maybe a person doesn't have $10 to pay for an album, they have $1, they can still get the album for $1. So I want to give people as much options they can. So Bandcamp is definitely the best option. Second option that I have to get the music, you can also get it on Apple. Apple, you can buy it from iTunes, I mean to say. You can buy it from iTunes.
Easy.
Yeah, very easy.
Well, what's next for you?
What's next for me is I'm releasing 2 EPs this year. After that, then I'll definitely be working on an album. But besides just releasing music, I'm trying to grow my business and making sure that, okay, I'm working with more people in terms of podcasting, in terms of people who work on YouTube. Also work with people maybe who want me to write a song to advertise their business. So that's what I'm trying to grow. Another thing that I don't know if I mentioned it, I do work on custom songs for birthdays. There's a song I'm working on for a client who wants a song for Valentine's. So that's the type of thing I do. So I hope that it grows this year and I see more results from that.
That's really cool. So I can contact you and say, I need a custom song for a celebration, and we can
Yeah,
start working together.
yeah, that's what I specialize in.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Would that be as simple as sending you a message through your Facebook page, for example?
Yeah, you can send your message on Facebook. You can send it on my Instagram. If you're on TikTok, you can also send it there. And then I'll give you the link to where you place your order and then I work on the song. I'm happy to answer. I love this specific platform because you've given me an opportunity to express what I do and all that. So it's a win for me, to be honest.
To come back when you release your album, and you might be too busy for me at that time. So maybe I was lucky to get you today.
No, I'll definitely. So when I got your message, it's something that I wasn't expecting.
Mhm.
I was just a person trying to advertise his business so I could meet a client so I could make something, you know? So I saw it as an opportunity like, oh wow, I can actually get on this podcast, and I was quite nervous about it. But I'm like, okay, what am I going to talk about it? Then I decided not to think about it and just okay, when the moment comes, just share whatever you can share. So this is my favorite podcast as much as I might have been stuttering. I think it's a great platform for me because it shares we share knowledge, if that makes sense. So the more knowledge you share, the more you have access to gaining more. The more knowledge you share, let me just rephrase it because I started. The more knowledge you share, the more knowledge you stand a chance of gaining.
I agree. I agree. And thank you for accepting my invitation today. I'm
Thank
going
you for
to
inviting me. Platforms like this challenge you to be like, okay, just learn how to express yourself. I
I
can't shy
agree.
away. I can't shy away from it for a very long time. I guess the more I do it, the more I get better at it. I think having people who are fascinated and wanting to see your process is a beautiful thing because it can be the thing that pushes you to keep on going. That's my thought process behind it to say, okay, if you have people, they say, okay, they want to see how the magic is made. It's a beautiful thing. So as much as sometimes it can make me feel uncomfortable, I see the benefits of it being like, okay, it means there's someone interested enough in watching you. So you can stop. So you just have to find a way to do it in a way that's comfortable to you. Thank you very much. This means a whole lot for me. Thank you for having me.
I am flattered that I got to talk to you today. Thank you so much. We'll talk again soon.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Work Studio in Floyd, Virginia. This has been an episode of Dear Business Coach.
Reaching out, reaching out, reaching out, yeah. Reaching out, reaching out, reaching out, reaching out. Worldwide from regional. Can I keep it real? Amen. Can I do me? Amen. Even when they hate, amen. I'ma keep it
scores.